Okay, so this is a video that sorry that I'm making for my friend David that really was a person who helped me get into the Clearpath servos, and he as well as me. I mean, I was having issues with the Clearpaths, and those issues were really because of small delay that the Clearpaths come with to, well, they call it jerk limiting or RAS, and it's this magical thing that really smooths the motion command sent to the motors, and it removes. They say in the video that they remove torque where torque is not needed, and the overall result is that your motors and your machine overall runs very smoothly. If you don't use RAS, or if you use too low of a value of RAS, let me show you what happens. This is how your motors will sound. But if you add RAS, yeah, the change is the change is immediately noticeable, and is I mean, I'll tell you, it's huge, especially if you're using very high acceleration values when you're, for instance, engraving. All right, but what's the negative on adding RAS? The negative on adding RAS is that your motion controller, the Ruida controller, doesn't know that there is a delay. It expects the motion to happen instantaneously, like it does with regular stepper motors. So I mean, thankfully, I mean, the Ruida controller I'm very happy with. I mean, this controller is by far has exceeded my expectations, and so let me load one of the parameters that I've set already. So the Ruida controller comes with for your cutting parameters. You can set an open and close delay. All right. I don't know really how this works or what's what's behind this, but I found that if I set an open delay of 6 millimeters, 6 milliseconds, and a close delay of 12 milliseconds, it compensates for my 16 millimeters, 16 milliseconds of jerk limiting RAS. If I increase the RAS, I have to increase these values as well. If I don't, I get gaps in the cuts. I mean, the cuts are terrible, and I was really frustrated at first. But I mean, you can. I mean, after using this, they work wonderfully. And you might want to add here as well a small seal to the cut. And what I usually do is I set a 25 millimeter seal, as well as a 0.6 millimeters of 0.025 millimeters of seal, and 0.06 millimeters of seal compensation that I added here. The seal is just it's a small distance that the cutter will travel in order to seal the cut, and the seal compensation is it will try to compensate for the width of your focus beam, right? I'm using a 1.5 inches lens, right? And well, through trial and error, I have found that these settings work very well. And after you add that, you get a better representation of the actual graphic that is on the screen, and what you get. And these are examples of things that very intricate cuts that I've cut with my machine and using the Clearpath. And as you can see, I mean, the detail is very good. It has very little ripple, and it has small tiny pieces that didn't cut all the way through, but those are the very tiny ones. Those are the very tiny ones. Yeah, and you might be able to see also some spots in the cuts that are probably overcut, and that's because I added the seal. But I noticed that if I mean, it's probably negligible in your end product, and I mean, it doesn't hurt, and it mostly ensures that every little piece will be cut at the end of the day. So that's for cutting. Now for rastering, you have the same problem for when you're rastering something. So to fix the raster problem or the engraving problem, you have to come to the system settings menu, and then you come to scanning reverse interval, right? And you are going to add a small interval in millimeters to every set speed where you find problems. So I mean, I don't engrave anything at lower than 100 millimeters a second, and for that speed, I found that 0.85 millimeters work best. I do the same for 600 millimeters and 1,000 millimeters. Every speed in between these settings will scale, and for the most part they will scale properly, and you're going to have good results with speeds that are in between these points. Right now, how did I test it? Which speeds were the correct ones for my cutter? Well, first of all, I mean, these settings, this raster settings, are for 16 milliseconds of rast. If you use a higher or a lower rast level, you are probably going to have to calibrate that again. All right, so but again, for the testing, what I did was I just made a small line, right? This is I drew a square, and I set the square to 0.1 millimeters width, and well, you can set the length that you want. All right, but that's what I did. And so with these settings, with the reverse interval settings, if you click on preview, the preview window will actually show you what the controller, what is the signal the controller is sending. And this is how the signal looks. There is one line that I'm engraving, but as you can see here, there is a gap. There are two lines and a gap. This is actually one line, but every point in the line is one pass to the right and then one to the left. So the one that is further to the right is a pass to the right, and the one that is further to the left is a pass to the left. And this is the distance that I've added. And if you click on the simulation, it kind of show you that real quick, but extremely fast what it is doing. All right, but that's what you want to do. And I'll tell you, after adding that, the cuts are the engraving quality is extremely good. I have no complaints, and I found that the fastest the machine runs, the better is the quality of the engraving on my particular system. Again, my system doesn't have any gearing or anything like that. The pulleys are directly connected to the belt driving the laser head for the x-axis while engraving. So I mean, probably I mean, if you have a gear or something like that, you might, I mean, I don't know, your settings or your experience might be different. But for me, that's the way it is, and again, it's wonderful. All right, thanks. So that's it, and well, that's what I did to fix the problems. Bye.